Sexism is defined as the systematic oppression of women by men. Sexism is based on the belief that men are inherently superior to women. Sexism encompasses economic, political, social, and institutional actions and beliefs that perpetuate an unequal distribution of privileges, resources, and power between men and women.
Santa Clara University was founded in 1851 and officially remained an all-male institution until 1961. President Patrick Donahoe's announcement that women could be admitted into the undergraduate program marked that Santa Clara would become the first Catholic coeducational university in California. His decision to allow women to enroll into the university undergraduate program was met with significant resistance. For example, some students lowered a flag on campus to half-mast, and the managing editor of the Santa Clara wrote an editorial where he envisioned the courses that would be added to accommodate for the women, such as Shopping A, which would address the fundamentals of basket pushing, tomato squeezing, and cereal prize selection. The first class of women enrolled at Santa Clara included 75 undergraduates. In an article celebrating the anniversary of their graduation from the university, they shared stories of the discriminatory actions taken against them on campus. For example, these women recalled being hit with food and water balloons through the cafeteria and campus. One woman shared that the professor said that there's no such thing as a logical woman in one of her classes. At football games, the players would chant, "Co-eds, go home." They also faced institutional barriers such as a lack of female restrooms on campus. The woman photographed here at Santa Clara's 1961 commencement ceremony is Mary Summers Edmonds, the first woman to earn an undergraduate degree from the institution. She shared that her male classmates attempted to bribe her with $250 if she would not walk in the graduation ceremony. In 1990, Santa Clara held an open forum which exposed decades of sexism, racism, and violence on campus. The forum took place in response to a highly sexist newsletter dispersed by the men of Sigma Phi Epsilon, a Greek organization on campus. These blatantly sexist posters in the newsletter also catalyzed the union of Santa Clara's student-led group Voices for Change. This group advocated for the incorporation of increased gender and ethnic studies requirements, enlargement of the Student Resource Center, inclusion of women and people of color in administration positions, and an examination of existing courses to ensure that they included narratives and voices of women and people of color. They also set long-term institutional goals such as implementing campus climate surveys and peer education programs. This event also brought many instances of sexual violence and discrimination on campus from earlier decades to light. At the forum, the chair of the psychology department and a member of the student conduct board throughout the 70s shared that she was aware of old issues that had never been properly addressed. She said that problems of sexism and date rape were covered up by the school, and that she believed that the institution cared more about keeping things quiet in their reputation than rectifying these situations.
When we think about sexism at our school, we can have a tendency to focus on specific extreme events from the past, such as these. We may believe that once women were admitted and integrated into life at SCU, the issue of sexism on our campus had passed. However, sexism is an ongoing issue of oppression that manifests in different ways over time and is still prevalent on our campus in many ways today. Here are some examples. In the fall of 2018, Santa Clara University was in search of a new president. Following a meeting between two members of the Presidential Search Committee and student leaders, students spoke out about the sexist language used by committee members at the meeting. Students felt that the members were dismissive to their comments and made sexist remarks regarding the idea of a female president and insinuated that a woman was not up to the task. This prompted the university and board of trustees to conduct an internal investigation about these claims. However, the investigation came to the conclusion that the only comments made relating to women were regarding the plan of recruiting a Jesuit as president and not widening that search to a population of candidates that would include women. For many students and faculty, this begs the unsettling question of whether or not our university will ever have a female president. But women are lacking in Santa Clara's leadership all around. Currently, on the 2019 Board of Trustees, only 8 of the 46 members are female. Female faculty and students feel underrepresented by the people who hold the most influence and power in our community. Further, female students also experience sexism in certain fields, schools, and majors. A third-year female bioengineering student explains that she has noticed sexism to be most prominent in STEM and engineering, not in the classroom, but in application settings such as labs, projects, and in the workforce. Although many times it may be said that it is easier to find a job as a woman in engineering, it can also be more frustrating because on the job, many males tend to think women are less capable at doing certain tasks such as welding, prototyping, and things that require more hands-on experience and expertise.
I wanted to share my experiences with Title IX and the sexism that I've seen at Santa Clara.
So, I think that the reporting and sexual assault process at Santa Clara is really flawed. There hasn't been a case at Santa Clara in any recent years where a student was found guilty of sexual assault, and it's all very political. This is a little different, but I have a close friend who experienced sexism by a professor who repeatedly asked her out on dates, commented on her appearance and heritage, gave her really bad grades, and forced her to come into office hours and wouldn't talk to her until everyone else had left. There have been other instances similar with this professor.
As a student in the business school, what I've observed is that when women raise their hand to answer a question in class, they're perceived as teachers' pets or just generally annoying. But when guys raise their hands to speak in class, they're not perceived in the same way at all.
Our first proposed intervention is the requirement of both ethnic and gender studies classes for all students. Currently, the SCU core curriculum requires one diversity class, which covers a broad range of topics, including racial and ethnic studies and gender studies. We are proposing that the university divides this into 2 separate requirements so that students will have exposure to more than one different perspective or issue of social justice, as they are both extremely prevalent. Our second proposed intervention is to add gender and sexism education workshops into the 2-day orientation that all incoming SCU students are required to attend. Student leaders, faculty, and other professionals will encourage discussion and critical thinking around sexism at SCU with incoming students to encourage them to make a change when they get to campus. Though orientation can already feel overwhelming with information that might get lost before students arrive on campus, this is still a critical time for students to think about this issue and have the opportunity to learn more and dive deeper with their future peers. Our third proposed intervention is to increase the number of females we have in leadership positions, but in particular on the Board of Trustees and as candidates for President of the University. As positions on the Board of Trustees and presidency open up, the university must seriously consider the abundance of qualified female candidates to assume these positions. There may be some resistance to change due to tradition. Currently, the president is required to be a Jesuit, as are a certain number of board members. As a result, these positions are currently reserved for men, while there are no number of positions explicitly reserved for women.